Midnight Monologues, Episode 1. Perspectives on Sex. It seems humans have constantly been at war with their own sexuality. Painting the situation with outlandishly broad brushstrokes, the prudish types repress sexual pleasure, seeing it as a marital duty to keep the passions at bay while accomplishing the task of begetting children. Those with a more Dionysian temperament see childbearing as an obstacle to their revelry, and seek to suppress fertility, escaping the responsibility of parenthood. What the bloody hell is up with sex? Is it merely the solemn task of procreation? Is it the apotheosis of carnal recreation? Are we to be imprisoned by repressive systems, or enslaved by our own unregulated desires? Whatever choices we make, do we really deserve to suffer the hell of repression and stunted emotional development in this life, or eternal conscious torment in the next? Catholicism's answer, rooted in teleology, is that genitals and sexual intercourse serve two functions: procreative, that is, to bring forth new life, and unitive, the bonding of the spouses. To deviate from sex's inseparable twofold purpose, its design, if you will, is gravely immoral. Hence, only unprotected cream pies in the context of heterosexual marriage are the appropriate outlet for human sexual impulses. Anything else imperils the soul. The other matter, according to this worldview, is that sex is not entirely for private benefit. Reproducing and rearing children generates new citizens that aid in the growth and development of society. The ecstasy of union is merely a bonus, an incentive. Pleasure is secondary, or some fanatics might even say a bug, not a feature. Doctor of the Church, St. Augustine of Hippo, concluded that sexual pleasure was simply a necessary evil, a minor sin tolerated for the good of reproduction. Religion aside, sex remains an important biological function around which social structures are built and defended. This is a truncated summary of what can be categorized as a traditional Christian view of sex. A noble ideal, but rather cold and somewhat inhuman with its overbearing legalism. This excessively cerebral view of desire utterly fails to adequately account for diverse human sexual experiences. Any departure from the aforementioned rigid norm is written off as disordered, concupiscent, or even demonically influenced. And alas, that last one was no joke. The 20th century has seen a massive shift in cultural attitudes regarding sex. Compulsory pregnancy is practically a crime against women, and virtually all regard abstinence as positively medieval, though admittedly 100% foolproof at preventing unplanned parenthood. Sex is a private matter, the nature and consequences of which are decided between two, or more for the adventurous, consenting adults. Scientific advancement has given us various tools to manipulate fertility and protect against disease. While sex is never totally free, it is certainly cheaper and quite literally easier to commodify. Looking at you, OnlyFans. Psychological and medical studies have normalized various activities and inclinations formerly considered taboo, such as different sexual orientations, self-pleasure, and the female orgasm, which is interestingly something championed by even the late, great Pope John Paul II, though in more veiled language, in the manner of his theology of the body. Sex has begun to break the shackles of medieval superstition and the androcentric systems that have confined it. Sex is an adventure too easy to embark on with reckless abandon. An honest consideration of history, as well as data from, shall we say, the less than virtuous corners of the internet, reveal just how glaringly obvious it is that humans engage in widely varied sexual behaviors for myriad reasons beyond reproduction. Rather than just cream pies, there is an unimaginable assortment of sugary treats, a dessert buffet at the bacchanalian dining table. For the prudes, that is the height of degeneracy. For the Dionysian, it is indisputable that such revelry is a part of being fully human. For the former, hell is the eternal punishment for the free exploration and expression of those most secret parts of ourselves. For the latter, Hell is the suppression and demonization of those desires that feel so innate to our humanity. Religion fails to answer why sexual pleasure is so complex and varied, and tragically often resorts to demonizing whatever colors outside the lines of its dogmatic framework. If God had only one design in mind, why do human experiences of intimacy easily stray so far from a strict, heteronormative, and procreative paradigm? What sort of cruelty would it imply about a creator if we were all made, against our will, to desire that which condemns us to the eternal flame? However, to its credit, religion does recognize humanity's tendency towards foolhardy self-indulgence, and its moral precepts regarding sex and relationships can be taken as a sort of guardrail that minimizes physical, emotional, and psychological carnage. To paraphrase Terry Eagleton, strip away the fear-mongering and superstition, and a rational kernel can be found within the mystical shell. From a naturalistic perspective, non-generative sexual activity can be rationalized as promoting strong bonds for the sake of social cohesion. Alternative and non-penetrative acts also serve as natural methods of birth control or libido regulation. Whether or not this sort of sex is the height of pleasure, it certainly serves some utilitarian function. For all the dangers and excesses modern perspectives on sex may bring, the undeniable benefit is that sex is out in the open. We can talk about it. We can consider its various moral, scientific, psychological, and social dimensions. We should be able to grapple with the complex nature of human sexuality without shame and without threats of eternal damnation. Wherever you land on the spectrum of thought and belief, sex is literally and metaphorically life-giving. It's primal. It's powerful. It's intoxicating. It's dark. It's ecstatic. Sex is an outlet for human creativity, and it reveals so much about our souls that words fail to capture. And sex must be respected. It ought to be celebrated and not repressed. It ought to be cherished, not debased. And in the midst of the raging fires that characterize our human condition, hopefully we rediscover the warmth of love.